Now we come to the front engine mountings, which I say mountings because there are two of them. It doesn't go all the way through as the rear one does. Now the rear one, I have one other little job I'm going to do to it. It's the holes are just, I don't know, they're like 13mm, but they're just too big for the 1/2 inch bolt that I'm going to use. So I rummaged around and I came up with a couple of little sleeves, a couple of brass sleeves, which are 1/2 inch inside, so they're a nice fit, and 5/8 outside. So I'm going to ream both of those because, as you'll see, actually most of it is hollow, so they're just the right size as it happens. I'll ream that, press those in there, and then we'll have a nice tight fit on that mounting bolt, because you don't want mounting bolts to be either loose, i.e. not tightened, or to be a slack fit, because what will happen is the engine, if it's a nice tight fit in the mountings, so the bolt doesn't move, but the engine can do this, then it'll slowly enlarge the holes, and then the vibration will get worse and you can end up with cracking, castings and so on. So I'll be doing that with that. But what we're going to do with the front is somewhat different. Now, on the actual XS750, what there is there's a triangular plate on each side and a bolt that goes through, and just in the back here, rather like on a battery terminal, on a bike battery, there's a little slot to pop a nut into. And then these triangular plates are bolted to the engine first, and then when it's dropped into the frame, they stick down through the frame, and on the bottom of the bottom tube there's a lugs to take the two bolt holes in the bottom of the triangle. So what I'm going to do is, this is really thick stuff, excuse me. The casting itself is 1 inch long, and the walls of the casting are almost 3/8 thick on the outer side where they're the thinnest. So there's an awful lot of meat there, and just so happens that this hole is almost exactly the tap hole size for a 1/2 inch UNC bolt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap 1/2 inch UNC thread, that's 1/2 on both of those, and then we can make the plates up when we put the frame in the engine. So let's get the tap out and do that. So here we go with this. A little bit of, it's just paraffin or kerosene here, which is a nice lubricant for aluminium. Make sure we get this in. I suppose really what I should have done is put it on the mill and used a little spring-loaded thing there, but that's straight. Yeah, I found a little socket to fit this to give me a bit more depth. Right, I'm back. Funny enough, it's a whipworth that fitted onto this shank. I couldn't find a metric or a standard one. They were either too big or too small. Go. I'll do the one on the other side, then we're going to put it back in the frame, and then these same procedure as before, little cardboard template, and then cut the steel. But these are going to be really easy to do, so that won't take us long. And that is going to be a really solid mounting. What a nice thread. Just check it with our threaded rod. Good tight fit, virtually no movement at all. Alright, you know what's going to happen now. I'm going to switch you off, and then when we come back, as if by magic, this will be in the frame. So there's the engine in. I've bolted up in the back, which you'll see shortly. And as always, we start with our cardboard template. So we make that up. Then from that we cut the right way around. We cut our actual steel. It's going to go on there. And then what we'll be able to do now, which makes things all so much easier, is actually bolt this in. So it's going to hold it right where we want it while we weld it. There's our front engine mounting right in place. So I'll tack it both ends as before, and probably put a little tack in the middle. Now what I'm going to do here is do this one completely, because I've noticed something about the frame which I will show you shortly. It's good this, isn't it? Keeps you watching. So there's the front engine mounting, the left hand side one, all in. And over here you can see the rear engine mountings. That's for the swinging arm. And there's the actual engine. So let me put the camera up on the tripod and I'll show you something else. Okay, there it is. The engine actually goes in, and I can get the complete top end off with it in the frame. Now you may remember, I'm sure you remember, that when I found this frame someone had cut a couple of bits out the bottom each side. Well, I've also realised now that I've got it all in, that I think what somebody was trying to do was spread the frame to fit something wider into it. And what they've done is this piece here, they've moved up slightly. It should be further down here. But what happened when they tried to do it was they only moved one side. This one stayed right and this one pulled out a bit. So we're slightly out at the front here. Wouldn't be a big problem, but well, in fact it isn't a big problem. But as you can see, you know, we're fine for the exhaust there. That one goes in there fine. This one is just, I mean, all I'm going to do is put the tiniest little bit in to move it to this side, but I'd rather have it right. So that's why I've only put one engine mounting in. What I'm going to do is cut this out of here and then probably put a big clamp on. Apart from anything else, well, it's in the way for the exhaust as well. For the exhaust to come out and around that, I want it to come in a lot closer. So I'm going to cut this out and then I'll probably just put a big clamp on, and the back of course is bolted tightly in there. This side is bolted tightly to this big block, so really about the only thing that can move when I start to squeeze it is this corner. If need be, I'll apply a little bit of heat in a couple of places, but I'm going to try and pull that back in to where it should be. It's not far, but for instance on this side the engine mounting is almost flush with the frame. Here the engine mounting's in about 3/8 of an inch, so that's about all it needs pulling in, but I just want it to be right. So I'm going to take the motor back out so that I can get in easily and cut this out of here, and then we'll see about doing that. And just to prove what I said, look, rocker box, well, rocker box, valve covers I should say. Head, and barrel. So future maintenance will be no problem. So as I say, let me pop this out and see what I can do with that. Now I'm about out of battery, so I didn't show you everything here. But what I did was I put a big clamp on and I heated the tube up in the down tube and in the bottom tube. And I don't know if I can show you this without getting in the way of the camera. But if I put that on the centre line, that's just touching. Whoops. If I turn it around, put it on the centre line there, on the centre line, we're just touching again. So, got that across to the middle. Now what I'm going to do is, this is sufficiently long, I'm going to cut it, and instead of it being like that, I'm going to turn the curve that way, which I'll have space. See, like that. Just clean it up, and then that gives me the strengthening piece, but it doesn't get in the way of this centre exhaust pipe. So let me clean these curves up and we'll weld that in. Now I've put the other front mounting in and that piece in there. So let me swing this round and pull you out a little. And up a bit, round a bit and down a bit. There we go, it's starting to look a little bit like a bike. Now this is the tank that goes on. It's slightly higher when it's on its rubber mountings. There we go. A bit noisy today, I've got the door open, it's warm. So we're going to get Commando side panels and a nice hump seat, chrome mud guards, because I've got a chrome mud guard for the front. But as you can see, it's all starting to come together. I think this motor just looks so right in there. I mean, it fills the space, fills up nicely, but not overwhelmingly. I think it's going to work well. So next thing I'm going to do is put the front forks in. Another Harley. Put the front forks in and then we'll see about putting some wheels in. So that's it for this episode. Enjoy yourselves.